Hello everyone and welcome to today's webinar, Powering Power BI, how to connect Microsoft Power BI to Apache Hive with the Simba ODBC Driver. My name is Toph Whitmore. I'm the Vice President of Marketing here at Simba Technologies in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. And I'm joined today by two engineers. The first is Miguel Llopis, the Senior Program Manager for Microsoft Power BI. Miguel will be joining us in just a moment from Redmond. And secondly, I'm joined also by my colleague, Alex Popov, who is an engineer and marketing manager here at Simba Technologies. And we're going to talk about a few things today. First, Miguel is going to give you an overview and an introduction to some of the new and cool features in Power BI. He'll also demonstrate some of the cool new capabilities. After that, Alex will join and will demonstrate how to connect Power BI to Apache Hive using Simba ODBC connectivity. And beyond that, he's also going to show off some of the cool data manipulation features of Power BI, particularly the GUI interface for formatting your data. A little background before we start. Simba is a proud partner of Microsoft, and we have partnered with Microsoft for a very long time. Simba and Microsoft collaborated to produce the very first ODBC specification way back in 1992. And here at Simba, we've been putting together connectivity solutions ever since. Now with that, I'd like to hand it off to Miguel to start the introduction to Power BI. Miguel.
Thanks, Top, and thanks everyone for joining us this morning in the webinar. It's a pleasure to be co-presenting this webinar with our extremely valued partners at Simba Technologies. For the next 15 to 20 minutes, I'm going to give you a quick overview of the Power BI desktop tool and how you can use it to create reports that then you can share into the Power BI service and share with other users. Finally, I'll hand off to Alex Popov on the Simba side to talk about how to use the Simba Hive ODBC driver to connect to Apache Hive. So let's talk a little bit about what's Power BI Desktop. Power BI Desktop is a completely free tool that you can download and install in your Windows desktop environment to create reports optimized for the Power BI service. For those of you familiar with the Power BI add-ins that shipped a few years ago in Excel, Power BI Desktop is an evolution and a combination of the power of Power Query for data connectivity, data preparation, and data transformations and mashups, Power Pivot for data modeling and analytics, and Power View for data visualizations and report authoring. The main activity that Power BI Desktop is optimized for is the end-to-end dedicated BI workflow of interactive reports and visualizations and data analysis. So think about it as a unified experience between these three sets of technologies that will guide you through getting data into your workbook, preparing it into the right shape and schema, and then be able to enrich that data with data modeling artifacts such as relationships, additional measures, calculated columns, and finally be able to visualize all of the data in stunning reports. The main output, as we were saying, are these interactive reports that then you can publish seamlessly into the Power BI service right from within the Power BI desktop tool. We'll show you how that's really great integrated. The last but certainly not least point is that Power BI desktop is updated on a monthly basis. In fact, just yesterday we released the Power BI desktop October update, which contained 23 new features. So we're all pretty excited about that. I definitely encourage you to go check it out. I'll be calling out some key features as part of the demo that I'm going to do that just shipped in this month's update. Last month's update, it also had 44 or 45 new features. So that will give you an idea of how quickly we are putting new features into this new product. And we combine that agility and velocity on delivery of product features with a strong emphasis on customer feedback and listening to everything that you guys have to share with us regarding our products. So we will deeply care and monitor all of the incoming feedback on different channels such as our forums, Smiles and Frowns. We also have a feature suggestions forum where people can go and suggest new ideas and everyone else can vote for those ideas. So we'll keep an eye on the most popular ideas and make sure that we deliver those capabilities that you're telling us that you'd like to see in the product. With that, let's go into an end-to-end demo. So I'm going to start by showing you how to download Power BI Desktop. So you could go into powerbi.com. Powerbi.com is our main marketing page that will give you a quick overview about the Power BI service. You can sign up and use it for free directly from here. All you need to provide is a work email address. Once you use it for free, you'll be able to create your own dashboards and share them with other users. And then you could also start using other additional products that we provide with Power BI alongside with the service, such as Power BI Desktop. So Power BI Desktop can be downloaded right from here. If you click the Power BI Desktop link, it will take you to the overview page that will give you a better description for what Power BI Desktop helps you to do with creating those reports. And then it will also have the link to download. So if I click the download link here, we will automatically detect which bitness you have in your browser, 32-bit versus 64-bit. And we will also detect the browser language that you're using, and based on that we will give you the exact version for you. So in this case it's providing me with a 64-bit version of Power BI Desktop in English because that matches my browser configuration. If I wanted to download a different version, you could always click into the advanced download options link that will take you to our full download page where you're going to be able to pick different languages and bitness. So after you download and install Power BI Desktop, you will end up with something that looks like this. This is the Power BI Desktop start page. So you would see this page show up every time that you launch a product. You could also disable this page if you don't want to see it. But we think it's really valuable for you because it provides lots of learning resources such as videos, forums, link to our Power BI blog, and link to lots of tutorials that then you can follow step by step to create your first few reports and ramp up with using the tool. The left side of the screen is reserved for starting things from scratch, either from creating a new report with connecting to some data or recent sources, or opening other reports that you've worked with in this same machine in the past. In this case, I'm going to start a new report, so I'm going to click Get Data. And this takes me to the Get Data dialog where we, as you can see, expose and offer connectivity to a wide range of data sources. We're up to 41 or 42 different data sources that span across different types of files such as Excel, CSV, XML text, folders, so you can actually aggregate data coming from all of the files within a given folder and treat them as a single logical view, which then you can start reporting on top. So that's a pretty powerful, also advanced scenario, so we won't go in depth into that one today. You also have connectivity to a wide range of databases, not only the Microsoft databases such as SQL Server, Access, or Analysis Services, but also lots of third-party databases such as Oracle, DB2, MySQL, Postgres, Teradata, and so on. And we keep adding more and more to this list, so if there's anything here that you're missing, please send us that feedback, both for what you'd like to see, and we'll take care of that. We also offer connectivity to a wide range of Azure data services such as Azure SQL Database and Data Warehouse, as well as public and premium data coming from the Azure Marketplace. We also give you access to all of the Azure Big Data capabilities through HD Insight, Blob and Table Storage, Spark, and earlier this month, so in this month's update, we also shipped the connector for Azure Document DB, which is Microsoft's NoSQL database on top of Microsoft Azure. So I definitely encourage you to check that one out as well. Finally, we have connectivity to a wide range of other non-traditional data sources, including websites. So you could extract data from web APIs, REST-based APIs, as well as scrape data out of web tables, HTML tables. So imagine you would like to build a report on top of one or multiple tables coming from a web page, and rather than having to copy-paste that data into a local file, you're actually able to create and establish a connection between Power BI desktop reports and that website, so it will always scrape the latest data from that web page and then recreate all of the subsequent data transformations, modeling, and visualizations that you apply on top. And of course, you could combine all of that data with data from any other data source that you connect to. So it's really easy to perform those data mashups using Power BI Desktop. In addition to web, we also have connectivity to other types of data sources such as SharePoint lists, OData, HDFS, connectivity to Active Directory to query for users and machines and other types of entities within your Active Directory domains. Exchange, so you could actually do analytics on top of your Exchange account. So for instance, you could monitor and analyze trends in your emails, send, receive, who you send the most, what times of the day, and so on and so forth. To calendar, so you could analyze your free and busy time in your calendar, contacts, and many other things. So you also have access to other sources such as Dynamic CRM, Salesforce, Google Analytics, Facebook, so you could query data for your Facebook page, look at your Facebook contacts, analyze your status updates, browse all of the comments available in your status updates, in your pictures, and every other element that's available through the Facebook Graph API. So pretty powerful connector for social analytics as well. And then we also have connectivity to a lot of different SaaS, software as a service services. We have added about 10 new SaaS services in the last 2 or 3 months. So the last one we added this month was MailChimp, but you have quite a few others such as QuickBooks, Zendesk. We also have connectivity to Apache Spark. And then for everything else that we don't have direct connectivity to or out-of-the-box connectivity right now, you could always fall back to using an ODBC driver. So there's a rich connectivity through ODBC, which is actually what Alex Popov will cover in the last part of this webinar. For now, I'm going to actually go ahead and connect to a SQL Server database. I'm going to provide the server name. And then Power BI Desktop will connect to this database and will connect to this server and give me a list of databases. We're going to connect to a database that's called Northwind, so I can search for that. And easily I can then browse all of the views and tables available within this database. So I can start selecting a few of them, such as categories, orders, products. I can also click this Select Related Tables button, which will automatically connect to the database and detect, based on the schema, which are all of the interrelated tables, and it will bring all of those together. And at this point that I've made the selection that I needed for my analysis, which in this case we're going to look at total sales by products, customers, and categories, I could either click Load or click Edit. If I click Edit, I'll be able to actually transform, filter, and reshape and combine this data before I actually download that data into the local model, which is a pretty powerful scenario and set of capabilities that it's a big differentiator on Power BI Desktop compared to other BI tools in the market. For now though, I'm going to start with a more simple path, which is actually clicking Load. That will give me then the choice of either importing this data into the local model or just load the definition of those tables and then let me build a report based on the direct query mode. Direct query allows me to actually create reports on top of data that sits on a remote server. For now, we're offering this for SQL Server and Azure SQL databases. We plan to expand this connectivity in the future to many other data sources, and it basically will skip the step of downloading that data locally, and then I could start creating those visualizations, and those visualizations will actually issue queries directly against the data source to retrieve the data only the data that's needed for that visualization. In this case though, I'm going to click Import because I want to show you some capabilities that are for now only available on import mode. So for instance, I would like to publish my report after I create it, and that's not yet available on direct query mode because direct query just shipped earlier this month as a preview feature, so we actually restrict publishing those reports into the Power BI service for now. But in the future, of course, you'll be able to do that seamlessly from within Power BI Desktop as well. Let's wait a few more seconds until the data completes downloading. So after loading these 7 tables into my data model, I'm left into this main UI surface for building reports, the report view. So you see in the report view how we have access to all the tables through the fields pane on the right, and then we have access to visualizations and formatting and filter options within this other pane. I can also switch to other views from the left, so I have the data view as well, where I can preview and see all of the data in all of my tables, and I can use this as a focus environment for data modeling, where I can start authoring new measures, new columns, even create new calculated tables based on DAX expressions. I can also manage my relationships, and I also have a dedicated dedicated relationships view down there. So let's go back to the main report view. We're going to start by looking at total sales. So we can go into the order details table, and we'll notice how we have, for each order, we have order lines, and then we have product ID, quantity, and unit price, but we don't have the line total. So why don't we go ahead and calculate that? Let's go ahead and create a new column. That's going to be line total, and that's going to be unit price times quantity. So once I created line total, I can actually go ahead and create total sales, which is going to be a new measure. That's going to be the sum of line total. And now that I have this new total sales measure, I can drag and drop it into the canvas and switch it to a different type of visual, such as a card. So notice how for cards we default to have some automatic aggregation. I can change that from the formatting pane. So if I go into the data label, I can switch to a no aggregation to see the full number. We automatically apply formatting such as dollar symbol, because we know that it's actually a total sales field. So we do that smart detection for you. You could also switch this to any other type of visualizations. We have a rich set of data visualizations that we're shipping with over 25 different data visualizations at this point. And there's more as we will cover later. So for instance, we can switch this to a gauge, and then we could configure the minimum and maximum and target values for a gauge, either based on different fields or by customizing it, hard coding it into the formatting pane. So this is something that we introduced new this month. So for instance, let's switch the max value to 2 million. And then we can switch the target value to $1,750,000. So 1.75 million just show up there with a target line. We could also create other types of visualizations. So for instance, let's go ahead and insert a bar chart. And in this bar chart, we could visualize total sales by category. So let's drop the category name to the axis. And let's drop total sales to the value. So by default, we will sort alphabetically by the categories. You could switch that to sort by total sales, and it defaults to descending order, so that's exactly what we want. Then we could also format the title of our visual. So let's go into the formatting pane and change the title. So we could say total sales by category instead of the auto-generated name that we had. We could switch the font color. So let's say we'd like to have the font in black, and then we could use yellow for the background color. We could change the alignment for that title. We could even set a background for the entire chart. So let's go for the same yellow color over there. We could also set the transparency to be less transparent or more transparent. So let's just apply a little bit of transparency. So there's plenty of formatting options for X and Y axis, the data color. So for instance, we could switch from a default color to using specific hard-coded colors for each category. So for instance, let's pick beverage, and we could pick from this wide range of options, but we could also pick a custom color. So let's go and pick something custom like that red color over there. So you see how we have a really wide range of customization options for visuals, but we also have lots of visuals. So let's go and look at a slightly more advanced case, such as a matrix visualization. Here we could visualize total sales by category and also by country. So we can pick, for instance, category names and set them as the columns. We could go to the customers table and pick the country field to set it as the rows, and then we can pick total sales to set it as the values. That gives us our total sales by category and country. So see how easy it is to define a matrix visualization. But then it's not only that we have a very rich set of data visualizations from out of the box, but we also have the ability to import custom visualizations. So this is something that we're pretty excited about, that we just shipped in the October update. We are making Power BI Desktop completely extensible in the sense of being able to add your own custom visualizations. Custom visualizations for Power BI can be created using the D3 JavaScript visualization library. It's open source, and there's a very vibrant community out there with lots of custom visuals that you can already apply. So if you go to app.powerbi.com/visuals, you're going to be able to get access to over 30 different data visualizations that the community has created. So for instance, you could start using Aster plots. You could start using bubble charts. You could use something like bullet charts or calendar visualizations, cards with states. Aster plots, chords. There's lots of different things that you can use. So my favorite is actually the synoptic panel, where you can fully configure a map. So for instance, you could, in this case, looks like a shopping mall. I've seen other examples where it's actually a map of a aircraft, so you can actually visualize the status for each seat. And there's lots and lots of more options. So for the demo, we're actually going to use a sunburst. So you could just click download and agree with the usage terms, and then you save this PBIBs file locally. So I've actually already downloaded a few of them, included sunburst, so I won't download it again. But then once you download, you could go back to Power BI Desktop and import that visualization into your current report. So you have this ... option over here in the visualizations pane. You could also import through the file import menu. So you have Power BI custom visual over there. You can click import and point to that PBIBs file. Now this new visualization shows up in the visualizations pane for me, and if I click it, it will just behave as any other Power BI visualization, where you can start adding fields based on the formatting and fields pane here on the right. So in this case, let's go and look at sales by category name and also by product name. So we can go into the products table and pick product name. So we drag those two fields into the groups category, and then we drag total sales into the values, and you see how easy it is to define a sunburst with aggregated sales by category and then aggregated by product ID. And after that, all I can do at the end is just publish that report. So I'm going to publish that report. First, I need to save those changes. And now after I save those changes, I'm going to call it webinar 2. Power BI Desktop is going to automatically sign me into Power BI because I was already signed in before, and it's going to publish that report for me. So now that it's published, I can get this link to directly open that into the Power BI service. I can now see the exact same report in the powerbi.com site. I need to actually enable those custom visuals. So now it exactly looks like what I had in Power BI Desktop, and I can pin a couple of items into my main dashboard. I can pick which dashboard it goes to, and then when I go back to the dashboard, it has those two visualizations. So at this point, I can start automating the refresh for this data, schedule refresh, keep the data always up to date in my dashboards, and then monitor this data. I can see it at the dashboard level or drill down into the report level to see the full details about the data that's behind my my report. And that's actually quite a good of an end-to-end. So all I'm going to do at this point is just move to the next demo, which Alex Popov from Simba Technologies is going to do, and he's going to show how to use the Simba Hive ODBC driver to connect to Apache Hive. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thanks, Miguel, for this demo. In my part of the demo, I'll demonstrate first how to set up connection between Hive and Power BI, and in the second part, I'll also go over some of the functionality that Power BI provides for transforming, cleaning, manipulating data before you can start the analysis. So as Miguel mentioned, Power BI comes with an impressive number of connectors to different data sources, relational and non-relational, and also some popular cloud-based applications. And if your data source is not listed in the out-of-the-box list of connectors, you can always use ODBC option to connect to whatever data source you need to. Some of the connectors are available on Microsoft website under downloads, and some are available on Microsoft partners like Simba Technologies, who also provide third-party ODBC drivers. So let's have a look. So for example, on the Microsoft download side, I'm searching for ODBC driver. I can download the Hive driver that I'll be using in today's demonstration. There's also Spark driver and a few others available. I already installed this driver on my machine, and the next step is to configure the DSN, data source name, so that we can connect to this data source from Power BI. And to do this, I'm opening ODBC Data Source Administrator and creating a new data source connection. Selecting the Microsoft Hive ODBC driver from the list. And now I need to fill out a few fields to connect to my data source. First, I'd start by giving the data source name.
Then I'm providing the name of the database server I'm connecting to. And the last thing I need to do is to set up the authentication mechanism. In my case, I'm just using username. And I'm testing the connection. So we can see that we connected successfully to the data source. And that's the connection that is currently going through Simba ODBC Driver. Now let's switch to Power BI. And to access the connection we just set up using ODBC DSN Manager, we click on Get Data, go to More, and in the list of available connectors, we need to scroll down to ODBC. That's the one we'll be using. Click on Connect button. In the connection string, all I need to do is to provide the name of the DSN I'm using. I'm putting DSN equals and the name of a DSN I just created, and it's not case sensitive. Depending on your authentication mechanisms, you may need to enter the credentials at the following screen, but because I've connected before, it doesn't prompt me. So now I can see my data source with 4 tables in the MovieLens database. I can preview the data, or I can just select the tables I need and load them into Power BI. And for this demo, I'm using open source MovieLens dataset. It's commonly used for machine learning and data analysis demonstrations and other things. And I'll provide the link to the dataset and all the scripts required to load it into Hadoop file system and create Hive schema in the notes for this webinar. We can see that we loaded 1 million rows in this dataset. And now I see the names of tables on the right in the field list. Now the names are too long and they're cut off. So one thing I like to do is to rename the tables, shorten names. And I can do that just by double clicking them one at a time and removing the name of a schema. Doing the same for ratings. And the users. Now, let's jump into the relationship screen. As Miguel mentioned, Power BI has impressive functionality to auto-detect the relationship between the tables based on the column names and types, and also things like foreign keys if your data source supports it. And in most cases, it works just fine. You don't need to do any addition. But data sets in real life are messy. They may not be. They may be missing. There may be missing foreign keys. So in this case, Power BI couldn't create a relationship between users and the occupations. So we can manually add this. So I'm just clicking on the occupations column and dragging the link to ID column in occupations. And I can double check that it created the proper connection. The connected columns are highlighted. And if you need to change which column it links on, you can always click on the required column and change the link. Now, all our tables are properly connected. We can go to the table list and do some of the data cleanup. So users, ratings, and occupation tables don't need any cleanup. They're good, but we can do some work on the movie table, the movies table. One thing that you'll notice right away is that the movie release date is appended to the title name. That's probably need to be split in its own column. And another thing, we see that the genres column contains information in some other format. It's most likely an array in a composite data type. To do this, cleanup, we'll switch to the Edit Query screen. And in this screen, we can apply transformation, cleanup, and modifications to the data so that it's easy to work with. It says that the preview is quite long, so we'll refresh it. So one thing we want to do is to split the year the movie was released in its own column. So I'm selecting the column, and I'm using split column function, splitting by delimiter. We'll be splitting on a custom character. This is the left parenthesis. And in this case, because parenthesis may be part of the movie title, we want to split on the rightmost delimiter. Clicking OK. We can see that movie release date is now has its own column. Let's clean it up, remove the closing parenthesis. Good. So now let's rename the column title. Call it year. We'll also rename the title. So one other thing that we need to do for this table is we want to renormalize the genres. So right now, all the genres are stored as an array of available movie categories or genres. So we want to split it in its own table and link those two tables. That's quite easy to do in Power BI, which is duplicate the movie table. Let's rename it and call it genres. We can remove the title and the year because they will be stored in the original table. We don't need them. And we'll do the same thing as we did with the year. We'll just split the column by delimiter. And in this case, we can use comma as a delimiter. And we actually do want to split it on each occurrence of the delimiter. Now you can see that Power BI created a column for each of the categories. And if there's less than 5 categories for the movie, we see the null values. So let's clean it up and remove the brackets. The opening one and the closing one. You can see how fast and responsive Power BI interface is, and I'm working on a 1 million row data set at this time. Good. Now, what we see right now is called wide format. So we have a single row per movie, and all the categories are listed in a separate columns. That's not very convenient for querying and manipulating data. So we want to pivot it and convert it to so-called long format as opposed to wide format. And to do this, we just select the columns, and we use the pivot function on the transform tab. Here's our unpivot column functionality. You can see that now each category is listed once, and the movie ID is repeated. Now we can delete the attribute column because we no longer need it. Let's return this data back to Power BI Modeler. And verify that Power BI detected the new relationship, and it did. We can see the genres table being linked to movies on movie ID. So if we double-click the relationship, we see that it's linking it on movie ID column. So that shows off the several data transformation and cleanup functions that Power BI has. Power BI has more than 100 different functions, and if something's not available for GUI, you can always drop down into the script editor and edit, provide M or DAX function. One other thing I wanted to highlight in this demonstration is in the query editor, all our transformations are recorded. And actually, we can probably delete the genres column from the original movie table. We don't need it there anymore. And if we look at our genres table, on the right-hand side of the screen, we see all the steps that were applied to this table, which would be reproduced if we'll refresh the data or we'll load the new data into this model. We can always go back in time by clicking the appropriate step, or even modify the step by clicking on the gear icon and modify the criteria for data transformation. And that wraps up the part of the functionality that I wanted to cover in this demo. After we've done this cleanup, we can just switch back to Power BI report table and start creating our beautiful visualizations. And with this, I'll pass the microphone to Toph.
Thanks, Alex, and thanks, Miguel. This wraps up our webinar today. If you're interested in more information on Power BI, please visit powerbi.com. If you'd like to learn more about Simba technologies, you can visit us at simba.com. Thanks all. Look forward to talking with you on our next webinar.